Coping with imposter syndrome. That is the topic of today's video. Drex here from Drex Factor Poi, bringing you the love of poi spinning and flow arts to benefit your body and brain. And today we're talking a little bit more on the brain side of things, and specifically what happens when our thoughts are working against us. Before we dive in, I just want to give a quick shout out to the friends of the channel. Big thanks to Dark Monk, Flow DNA, Flow Fests, Flow Toys, Juggling Calling, Pyroterra Light Toys, Spinballs, and Ultrapoi for helping to make the videos on this channel possible. You can learn more about all these amazing companies and the work that they're doing to support flow artists like yourself by checking out the links that I've got down in the description of this video. So, somewhat ironically, I'm going to say up front that I feel a little out of my depth talking about this. I am not a psychologist. I don't have any experience talking people through this, but I am somebody who suffers from imposter syndrome very frequently. And in identifying the ways in which it manifests for me and the ways that I try and work past it, I'm hoping there are some lessons there for other people as well. And yes, your ears did not deceive you. I get imposter syndrome, like all the time. So there's at least two takeaways from that I think are important. The first one is that no matter what you do and no matter how successful you are at it, imposter syndrome is not likely to go away on its own. There is no accomplishment that you can make. There is no degree of success that you can have wherein you will not continue to be asking yourself those questions, which I also realize is a little depressing in context here. But the good news is that all of those people out there that you might be comparing yourself to, that you think have the inside track on everything, they're feeling it too. And the other takeaway from that is that this is such a pernicious and widespread problem that, you know what? You're in good company out there. There are a lot of flow artists that are struggling with imposter syndrome. And, you know, sometimes I find it's helpful to know that I'm in good company, and sometimes it doesn't. But for those of you it does help, there's that thought to chew on. Okay, so how does imposter syndrome manifest? Well, in me, it manifests in a few different ways. One of the big ones is that when I'm talking to somebody that I really respect, I'll be in this place where I'm constantly afraid that they're not taking me seriously. That, you know, I kind of have to prove that I deserve to be in this conversation. And I, in a lot of cases, kind of overcompensate for that. And I'm absolutely positive that there are people in the flow arts world out there who are very curious why I get so awkward on the phone. And this is one of the reasons why. And part of the root of that comes down to, well, a power dynamic. That is, walking into those conversations, I've kind of decided that the other person is more knowledgeable than me, is more professional than me, has better insights than me, what have you. When I'm dealing with that fear that what I'm saying is really dumb, I'm also, you know, basically projecting this idea onto the other person that they have better things to do or smarter things to be thinking about than what I'm bringing up. And I'm not going to say that I have found a solution to this, but I will say one thing that has helped out a lot is spending some time before I have those conversations, thinking really, really hard about A, what is my goal with this conversation? And B, you know, if they've opted to have this conversation with me, that means that they think it's worth their time. What exactly are they hoping to get out of this conversation with me? And it should be said, this frequently results in me over-preparing for conversations. But I will also say that walking into a conversation so prepared that you have way too much stuff to work with is probably not the worst thing in the world. But the piece of that I really want to pull out and emphasize is that those cases where I'm having that imposter syndrome come up are a result of me setting a power dynamic that is kind of unhealthy. You really want to make sure when you're walking into conversations with people in your sphere that you respect and everything, that you also have respect for yourself. If they chose to spend that time with you, it's because they decided that you were worth their time. So If nothing else, hold on to that. Another way this can manifest is like kind of being afraid to share content because I think it's not good enough. And this will happen pretty frequently, that I'll go out there and I'll see people that, I feel like they're much better editors than I am, or, perhaps they have much more difficult tricks than I know how to do right now, or, they've got a much better grasp of visual storytelling or what have you. And it puts me in a place where I'm just like, oh, I don't know if I want to share this thing that I've done that's literally me just talking at the camera for 15 minutes without any kind of outline or script. But here's the thing. If your concern is whether your content is good enough, the good and the bad news is that's not up to you. That's up to your audience. That's up to the people that watch it. All you can do is say whether or not the thing that you've produced is good enough for you. And then once you put it out into the world, it's up to the people watching to decide for themselves whether it's worth the time to watch it. And yes, a video that isn't successful can really hurt. It can be really crushing. I have had so many instances in which I have just poured my blood, sweat, and tears into a particular video only to put it out there to the world, and there's crickets. Nobody cares about it. And you know what? That's part of the process. There are some times that you use that as an opportunity to sit back and say, hey, why didn't this find an audience? Are there other topics that I've done that are similar to this that have found an audience? What are the differences and what are the similarities? And, also too, sometimes it's fine to just say, hey, you know what? In the end, I produced this for me. And another way in which imposter syndrome really frequently pops up for me is in terms of knowing my value. And this is a topic that could be an entire video unto itself. And if you want to hear an entire video just on that topic, you can let me know down in the comments. But suffice it to say, undervaluing myself is something that I feel like I do so frequently, it's absurd. And part of it is that when I'm, say, like engaged in a discussion with somebody about something that I'm going to be paid for, there's that part of me that fears like, oh goodness, what if they're angry with me for having put this number on the table? What if, they're just going to say no and laugh me off and everything? Where do I go after that? The thoughts of that can be really, really crushing. And at the same time, they can hold you back from some really amazing things. So I will straight up tell you all that over the course of the past 2 years, every time I have entered into a negotiation with any party that was putting money on the table for me to do some project or video or what have you, I have never once had somebody talk me down from the number that I put out there. Even in the cases where I was absolutely certain what I was asking for was completely absurd, I pushed through and I did it anyway, and nobody ever talked me down. Well, okay, there was once, but only once. I think when asking questions about what is my worth, the question that's really being asked there is, what am I going to feel good about investing my time in this thing and coming out on the other side of it? So frequently, we put the fear of rejection so high in that schema that when we come out of the situation, we realize that we felt undervalued through it. And, we come to a point where it's either we're not proud of the work or we don't want to do it again, specifically because we know that we didn't feel like it was worth the energy that we put into it, and we're afraid of the rejection that we might get by going back and asking for more. And here's an idea I want to plant in all of your heads out there. We need to think about sustainability in the flow arts, but sustainability doesn't just mean in terms of our relationship with the resources of the world. We have to also think about sustainability in terms of our own internal resources. And quite frankly, if we are treating our own internal resources, our emotional labor, our physical labor, as being things that are as expendable as many of the natural resources that we're trying to preserve out there, then we haven't found something that is truly sustainable. And that should be a goal that we all shoot for. And a final way in which this manifests is when I receive positive feedback from people, I frequently don't feel as though I deserve it. Like, there will be people that will tell me that content that I have produced has been really important or changed their life. There will be times at which I get invited into collaborations with people I really respect. And literally my first thought every single time is, you must have me mixed up with someone else. I'm not the person you think I am. I'm not that smart. I'm not that capable. I'm not that talented. And it's so funny, like, saying that out loud, because if the person that you're talking to doesn't think that you have those very attributes, they wouldn't be telling you that they think that you do. And I'll admit that this one is the hardest to work through because so much of it is just me living inside my own head. But I will say that one of those things that I have begun doing in the past couple of years is actually taking screenshots of those moments when people do tell me good things like that. And I keep them in a little folder on my phone to go back to every once in a while and remind myself, it's like, hey, you're actually pretty good at this, and people have told you this in the past. And a lot of you out there might be noticing that there is a through line through all of these examples. And that is that, at least for me, when imposter syndrome manifests, it does so in a way where I am afraid that people are going to see me the way I see myself inside my own head. And that is the insidious and very pernicious demon that must be slayed in order to move past it. Because ultimately, if your self-image is of somebody who is irreparably flawed, then there is absolutely no way that any amount of likes, any amount of views is going to take that perception away from you. It has to be something that you engage in as a conversation with yourself. That is a wound, is a hole inside of yourself that only you have the power to heal. And if you figure out how to heal that wound completely, please let me know. Awesome. So that was a lot. Thank you all for listening as I brain vomit all of my various neuroses out there and everything. I hope that some of y'all out there saw something of yourself that you recognized in all the things that I've been saying, and it's given you some places where you can take those thoughts and hopefully grow as a result. And if you got anything out of this video, please make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe to help other people find it, as well as help my channel grow. And finally, a huge thank you, because this video would not be possible without the kind contributions of these amazing folks right here. These are my Flow patrons on Patreon, and they, along with all the wonderful folks listed down in the description, make this video and all the videos on this channel possible. And fun fact, when I first started crowdfunding this channel, I believed in my heart and soul that nobody would want to support it. Look where I am now. If you would like to sign up to support this work that I'm doing, bringing poi spinning and flow arts to the wider world and helping connect people's brains and bodies, you can do so by heading on over to patreon.com/DrexFactorPoi and signing up. You can get early access to all of my content, as well as a say in what topics I tackle in the future, plus some awesome behind the scenes and extras content as well. So go and check that out. Please and thank you. How does imposter syndrome manifest for you? I would love to know. Leave me a comment and let me know the ways in which, this pops up, that you give power away to other people, or that you feel like what you're doing is not good enough, or you're afraid that people are going to see you the way that you see yourself. Or perhaps there's an entire area in which this manifests that I didn't bring up here. I would love to know. Thank you all so much for watching, and make sure you get outside and get in a flow break today, yeah? Awesome. I'll see you soon. Peace.